So this is a revenue management workshop, and a revenue management workshop should not be without talking about revenue management culture, okay? So this can apply, this is slightly tilted towards developing a revenue management culture in the corporate world, but you can very well apply it also in the hotel level, and then to build a revenue management culture at a single property. What is a revenue management culture? How do we define a revenue management culture? Well, first of all is the recognition of the importance of revenue management, right? And I'm just saying that, but there is still a lot of hotels, and literally a lot of hotels out there who do not know what revenue management is, right? So yes, they might think it's important, but they literally do not know what it is. So if you want to have a revenue management culture, it has to be recognized as an important factor of the commercial success of the hotel, okay? And this doesn't happen overnight. That needs to be trained, and lots of training and discussion needs to happen so you get a consensus and people understand what it really is. Ability to positively influence revenue generation, right? So revenue management objective obviously to drive more revenue, to optimize the revenue, okay? The ability to make fact-based strategic decision. Fact-based strategic decision. Now there's one of the, when we talk about sales and marketing one side and then revenue management on the other side, I know I'm simplifying that, but sales and marketing tends to be very emotional sometimes because of, well, there's relationships and my clients and my customers and so on, whereas this revenue management can be sometimes a little bit cold, right? I mean, it's a fact, it is looking at numbers, and it's people, what are people? So yes, it's in the extreme. But for revenue management, the point is that you have to know the facts. We talked about displacement. Yes, the fact says we are displacing revenue, but because of relationship, we're still accepting that fact. That's still okay. That is fact-based. If we know that we are displacing revenue, but we decide to displace revenue, perfect. But if we don't know, then it's a problem, if we just displace without knowledge. So fact-based strategic decision, understanding that revenue management is a philosophy as opposed to a person or system. Even now, 2016, I still hear this more and more. I have a revenue management culture because I have a revenue manager. Well, wrong. That's definitely not. I have a revenue management culture because I have a revenue management system. Also wrong, right? It doesn't work like that. A revenue management culture is a philosophy. It's something which has to be understood from top down, the general manager, to the sales and marketing wider team, front desk, reservations, operations. If you talk about total hotel revenue management, the basics of the revenue management should be understood in the outlets for F&B. Otherwise, it's not going to work, right? So the more people they know about revenue management, the higher the likelihood that you can call yourself having a revenue management culture in the hotel, okay? So it's something which is really working together. And the conference yesterday, we talked a lot about digital marketing and revenue management collaboration. It's sales, revenue management, collaboration, trying to understand each other's objectives, working together towards a common goal to drive more revenue and profit. Understanding that revenue management is still evolving, right? That's another fact. Revenue management is getting more and more complex, and it hasn't stopped yet, and it will continue to be more complex. So it is an ongoing process, which is good, which is fine. It's fun about that, right? But we all have to be part of this. Now, I'm giving you a case study from Onyx Hospitality Group, which is the company I worked for before, and how to build a revenue management culture. First step is situation analysis. I'm doing an analogy here to climbing a mountain, okay? And when you start and you look at the mountain, oh my God, it is so high, the mountain, right? I mean, it really looks like it's impossible to go from here to here. Because what you're faced with is, well, okay, maybe you don't have revenue management professionals, revenue manager, revenue director, so not at all. Maybe you have no standardized market segmentation. This hotel does a little bit here, the other hotel a little bit there, and then by country it's all different. then you have no guidelines or templates or SOPs or anything in writing on there. And then you have some systems and tools, and they're not used properly because nobody really knows what they do. I mean, when I came in, I asked them, so you have this great system, do you know what it does? No. And then I asked the other hotel, so look at this rate shopping tool, what? It's really scary, right? So when you come to a situation when you had a lot of staff, tools, but they don't know how to use it, nobody knows. So this is kind of what I faced a little, I exaggerate slightly, but mostly this is what I faced when I started 5 years ago with the company. And I really felt like, okay, this is a big step. But analyze the situation is the first step. So really face the hard facts of where you are in the journey to building a revenue management culture. And of course, not everybody will be in this situation, right? You could be in your hotel, could be in all kind of different situations, but analyzing where you are will help you to go to the next phase. Inconsistent pricing philosophy, you forgot that one. Step number 2, owner support, right? If you want to take the journey to the mountain, well, it's good to have kind of a guide and a map and really a plan how to reach the top. You just don't really start walking. You actually start planning and see, how do I go from the beginning, from the base to the mountain to the top. And one helpful tool in my case here was owner support. So begin with the end in mind. When I had my owners meetings, so I met the owners, I met the senior team, and so on, and I told them, this is where we are now, and they were all shocked, and then this is where we want to go, okay? And this is not something which you do overnight. I told them very clearly, I need some time for this. Don't call me next week and say, is it done, right? Because the answer is no. So if you want to build a revenue management culture, it will take time and multiple meetings and trainings until you get where you get. But begin with the end in mind. I actually took this from Stephen Covey, 7 steps. It's a very good thing. Cost-benefit analysis. What does it cost? And cost could mean systems. Do you want to implement any systems? Cost could mean people, right? If you want to hire some professionals, labor cost is going up. So who do you want to hire? And then what's the benefit? Benefit is very important if you want to sell anything, right? So just selling for the sake of selling is not going to work. People want to have benefits sold. So what is my benefit by having a revenue management culture? So I told them, of course, you drive more revenue, you have more efficient processes, it will increase your market share. All of these good things increase profitability, and that's where you get people to listen and say, okay, so yes, I know there's some cost, but there will be some return. Rough timeline estimate, okay? Yes, I told them it's not going to happen next week, but I gave them an idea how much time I roughly need, and then in the various phases before we can say we have a working revenue management culture. And then next steps, right? Moving from A to B, just explaining everyone, okay, what is happening next so we know what's going on. All right, so that's from owner support. And then communication, something which cannot be underestimated. If you want to change anything, anywhere, as part of culture, you have to communicate, and communication has to be inclusive. All right, so what do I mean by that? Different departments, same goals, right? When you go and want to change something, you identify what is your goal. Sometimes when we talk about conflict, sales and revenue, sales might still be goal-oriented based on volume, right? I need to have X number of room nights instead of revenue. It's already a conflict. If you go for room nights only, that means I take as much business as a cheap rate as possible so I can get my goal to a room night volume. But if you have a revenue goal, then it's a better mix between the average rate and the volume. So are we having different departments, different goals? Digital marketing versus revenue. Okay, digital marketing predominantly driving website booking. Is this the goal no matter what? I have promotions left, right, and center, but is my profitability negatively impacted? We have to talk about that. What are the different goals of what are the different methods for the different departments to achieve the same goal of optimizing revenue? Overcoming territorial disputes. What do I mean by that? Anyone want to share your opinion? No? I'm sure you have experience that yourself. No matter if you are in revenue or if you're in sales or whatever you're working in, right? I don't know if it's a human thing or if that's a particular hotel or so, but we tend to be very closed and protective about our area, right? So this is revenue, this is my thing, and you sales go in your corner and do your thing, right? And then do not overlap each other. I mean, it's terrible. So that's wrong. You have to really overcome that and come to a conclusion and goal. There may be different ways to achieving the goal, but communication is so critical, right? We have to identify that and say, there is no territory here. We are one team. It's easier said than done, but communication helps. Okay, include the non-experts, right? Which means getting a fresh pair. We had a forum this morning where somebody was in there and said, okay, why is hospitality so slow in adapting change? And he said, well, hospitality, most of us are always in hospitality. We have very few outsiders from other industries. That's not good, and I agree with that. We sometimes want to get a different perspective and just see, okay, how can we tackle that problem maybe differently? How can we see it with different pairs of eyes to just see, okay, coming to a new idea, right? Because we sometimes tend to have a little bit tunnel vision because this is how we experience the things to be, so we're going in that direction. So if you have the opportunity to talk to someone, let's say in our case, talk to someone from finance, who's not really revenue or commercial or sales, right? They might have a different perspective on how to approach things, which might open up your mind. Step-by-step timeline, right? So make sure everybody in the team is aware of what we're going to do. What's the expectation, right? So we're setting out the expectations and then we are going there step by step. And don't go too fast. Sometimes also if we want to change, we are very excited, very passionate, and we want to change very quickly, but that might leave some people behind. So it's very important that, when you plan the whole thing by going up the top of the mountain, doing it step by step, base 1, base 2, base 3, until you come to the top. Okay, so everybody is joining you in this journey. Recognize cultural differences, right? So this is now we are here in Thailand, obviously not Thai, but depending on the culture where you are, you have also some non-Thais. And that, for example, your GM might be Frang. If you are a Thai revenue manager, you have to recognize that the dynamics might be very different, right? Depending on how long the general manager has been in Thailand or not, the way how things are operating in Europe, I'm German by the way, is very different business-wise and is in Thailand, okay? So you have to adapt. That's very important that you recognize there are cultural sensitivities if you want to do any kind of successful change. And then it will work much, much better. Okay, and then the last one, celebrate success. Another one which gets forgotten, okay? If you do changes, and even the small one, if you come together for a project, and then this project has generated incremental revenue, celebrate success. This will foster closer team cooperation, collaboration, moving on further, okay? Don't just get too busy in your day-to-day and just ignore that what you have just achieved, right? We talked before about displacement, very big piece of business where the team gets together, makes a decision, do we take it, do we not take it, and then post-analysis, it was really good on profitability, make a celebration, right? It's really good, okay? So what we have achieved for the case study was 12% RevPAR growth due to business mix optimization. The biggest challenge when I joined Onyx was too much focus on wholesale business. Right? When I looked at the old business mix, on that it was very, very heavy on wholesale-driven business and very low on direct business and corporate business for the corporate destinations. But by changing, the occupancy was very high across, so that wasn't the issue. The issue was really business mix. So by talking to people and changing the perception about what revenue management and what needs to be done, we achieved a 12% RevPAR growth within 1 year, which is very, very good. Correlate financial success with strategy, right? So if you do in revenue management, if you do implement a new strategy, and this new strategy drives revenue, make sure you correlate the two. Make sure you verbally say, because of this strategy, then we had this success, okay? not everything can be correlated. But if you have a particular piece of business, could be you have a new marketing strategy, a new package which you want to have, whatever it is, business mix optimization, there's so many possibilities. If you do have a financial success, and not every time you will be successful, obviously, but if you do and then you correlate, it will give you more confidence to continue in the same strategy, right? Share the success, right? Again, forget territorial disputes, mine. It's ours, right? It's a teamwork, right? It's very helpful. And then continue the journey, right? As I mentioned, revenue management is continue to evolve. Revenue culture building is a continuous journey, right? Which you have to move on. But the end goal will be really rewarding. Financially, definitely, right? As you can see from this example, and I've done a similar exercise in other companies around the world, a really good implemented and celebrated revenue management culture does have an impact on the financial success of the company. Okay, and that's closing the revenue management culture session.